The man whose performance even made the most hardened criminals in prison cry. Mr. Paul Potts, everybody. How are you? In case you're wondering, that song you just heard him in that week, yes, he was doing REM's Everybody Hurts. He's got a new CD called One Chance where he's doing a lot of different songs on there, including that and the Paul Anka classic, The Frank Did My Way. Welcome to the show. Man, what a crazy year.
If anybody had told me 6 months ago I'd be releasing an album, even if they told me that I'd be singing it, I'd tell them not to be silly, you know, and get off the funny juice, because you know, I really couldn't believe that anything like this would happen. It's great to be back here in Canada. I've been across here a few times because I've got friends in Brockville on the St. Lawrence. And so I've been to Toronto a couple of times. So last year with my wife 3 years ago, we came here for Valentine's, so it was, and went down to Niagara. So we came here when snow was around and -25. And
yeah, lovely to look at from inside a house.
There was actually very little humidity and no wind, so it actually felt quite pleasant.
Your wife Jules is right there, right in the front. There she is. Hi, how are you? It's not just that you put out an album and that you were able to travel and do this. It's the fashion in which you were able to achieve this that is so unique. It was a shared experience. I mean, you're one of the first guys who everybody around the world had this chance to sort of watch what happened to you like this, on this level. When you were singing, what were you thinking about when you saw the judges turn in your favor? Like, what were you thinking about?
Well, I didn't actually see the judges' reaction when I was actually performing. I was thinking, at that time, I was thinking, what the hell are you doing here, you know? And I was praying for somebody to press a button because I was actually stood on a trapdoor, and I was praying for somebody to actually press the button on the trapdoor to release me.
Gong, and you're done.
Yeah.
And then after your performance, what did you think?
I actually thought I hadn't done that well. I didn't think I'd hit the most important note as well.
The end?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd hit it very well. So I was actually expecting Simon Cowell to actually say, "Look, not good enough. You know, that's it." You know, and for me, just performing that venue was what I'd decided to do. But I'd only decided to apply basically on the toss of a coin. I wasn't sure whether I had the talent. I wasn't sure whether I was young enough. And because I felt that at 36 probably I was too old to be doing a show like that. There was no age limit to it, but you know, you kind of expect people to be in their mid-20s doing the show, and so I wasn't sure whether to do it. So I got a 10-pence piece out of my pocket and decided, right, if it lands on heads, then I'll submit the application. If it lands on tails, then I'll cancel it. And the entries were closing the following day, so I had to make a decision, and in the end I made it on the toss of a coin, and thankfully it did land on heads. Yeah,
I'd say. It worked out all right. Your record's called One Chance, and I wondered the significance of that title, because, I mean, it really just comes down to one chance.
Yeah, the show, if it hadn't been for the show, I would not be singing at all. You know, I was working long hours, and by the time I got home, there wasn't time, because I'd get home sometimes after 9 o'clock.
I heard you haven't quit your job yet.
I haven't.
You still have that job?
I still have the job. I haven't been back apart from... I did pop in to say hi.
Are you sure they haven't fired you yet?
They actually wrote to me because they hadn't heard from me from a letter that I hadn't received. And they said that, right, OK, what we've done for you is we put you on a 6-month career break. And I popped in about a month after I did the show, and just to say hi, and they were a bit busy, so I sold the phone while I was there, but that's as much work I've done there since. But, I mean... The way I look at life now is that one of the lessons I've learned from doing the show is that life... I mean, Forrest Gump would say that life's like a box of chocolates.
Right.
I would say that life's like a poker hand in, you know, say, Texas Hold'em Up, where you get 2 cards. You get to see 2 cards, but you don't know what else is coming up. And those 2 cards could be a really good hand. You might think it's going to be a really good hand, or you might think it'd be an awful hand. So you have a choice of whether to fold or whether to raise. And if you get what looks like a really bad hand, you might decide to give up. But the way I look at it is you don't know what card's going to come next, so you shouldn't give up. At the same time, you might think you've got a really good hand. But again, you don't know what's coming up next, so you shouldn't take things for granted.
Right, but, I mean, it's how you play the hand is really what it's all about. I mean your life, at least from the research that we can do to learn about you, it wasn't leading to the fact that you were going to be on a reality show and break big. So who knows how your life, you know, would have turned out. It's like when you were at that point, when you were working, you know, in a warehouse or whatever, and you had already gone and sang in front of Luciano Pavarotti, and you weren't getting the breaks you wanted in your career. What were those nights like when you know that you clearly had a talent?
Well, I just enjoyed singing. I wasn't really going out there to actually make a career of it. I went through my 20s going to university. I didn't go to a conservatory. I just sang when I could, and I never saw it as something that would be a career. You know, when I sing, it's like having a key that opens a door into a room that I feel safe and secure. But just because you've got the key doesn't mean you've got the directions to get to the door. You've still got to get to the door. And the last 4 years, it's been difficult to find a way to that door because I had 2 major illnesses. I had my appendix burst, and
you found a benign tumor in there too, right?
Yeah, 10-centimetre benign tumour on my adrenal gland. They moved that, and I come back from that, started working at the supermarket again, and 4 days after I returned, somebody ran me off my bicycle, and I ended up off work again for another 9 months. And it was at that point where I thought, well, that's it. I'm not going to sing again because I don't have the money, I don't have the energy to begin with, and then I'm going to end up having to work. I ended up working a night job and a day job to try and get the bills paid. And as far as I was concerned, that was it. You know, I wasn't going to sing again because I just didn't have the time.
What did Jules, your wife, think when you said, hey, darling, I flipped a coin and I'm going on a TV show with Simon Cowell?
Well, the first Jews knew of it was actually when she actually opened the letter and got the invitation. Then I got the invitation to appear. You know, so I didn't think anything would come of it, so I didn't see the point in, you know, saying anything at that time. But I literally went there just to perform at that venue. As far as I was concerned, that audition was about closing that part of my life away, and I would never perform again. So I tried to put as much into that performance as possible. I was quite tense and quite nervous, and you know, I was pacing up and down behind the stage. You know, that was real. I was not aware that I was being filmed at that time, and I was literally walking up and down and thinking, "What the hell are you doing here?" You know, and I seriously considered walking onto stage and just carrying on walking, just waving to Simon and walking off the other end.
That would be really funny too, though. That would also be viewed on YouTube. But instead, you go for it. I wonder, what has Simon Cowell taught you about what you were going to face? Because you're a superstar now, like, people pay a lot of attention to you. What did Simon teach you about what was going to come?
Well, one thing he said was, don't change, and try and enjoy it as much as possible. And, you know, it's been a huge privilege to be able to see so many places and meet so many friendly people around the world, and just to get to do what I've always loved doing. I mean, what drives me is just to be able to sing.
What do you think it was about your performance that resonated so much with people? Because it wasn't just that you were a great singer. It resonated with people. Why do you think that is? What do they tell you when they walk up to you?
I don't know. I just enjoy being able to do it, you know. And I'm hugely flattered when people say, you know, when people tell me that they really enjoy what I do. And one thing that I always remember is that, you know, the people that decide how long I get to do what I love are the people that go out and buy albums and buy tour tickets. They're the ones that decide how long I get to do what I love doing, and I never, ever take that for granted. Because life has a funny way of taking you in different directions, and you can't see where you're going next. So I just try and enjoy it as much as possible and hope that people will enjoy it too.
You know, every group of guys has one of their mates who does something funny or have a great or an interesting talent, and then 3 or 4 or 6 hours into the night at the pub, oh, look, there he is flipping his eyelids up again. For you, was it you're like, oh, Paul, for the love of God, shut up, because you're singing at the pub at the top of your lungs? Like, what do your friends think about what's happened?
Well, I've kept in contact with all of them. I see them when I can, and I keep in touch, usually by text message and with some of them by phone calls as well. And I took the guys that I worked with at the mobile phone shop. I took them out for a drink a few months ago now, and they just sing incredible, and you know, they've been hugely supportive, and I keep in touch with them all the time. And just before I did the show, they wanted me to sing for them. I said, no, I can't possibly do that. You know, I go shy at that moment, you know, because I have to be in the right position to do it. But I mean, I remember actually I actually remember doing the semi-final, and it was live, and the moment that Simon Cowell started to speak, I felt something vibrate in my pocket. I hadn't realised I'd actually taken my mobile phone with me.
Turn it off.
And it was actually in my pocket. It was on silent, thankfully, but which is just as well, because the ringtone was actually something from a British... it was actually something from a British TV series called Life on Mars.
I love that show.
That's
the best show, man.
And it was the older man saying, "Oi, fatty, shut it and have another pie." And the time it vibrated was the moment Simon started to speak.
Oi, fatty, shut it.
Thankfully, it was on silent. I was praying that it was on silent.
That actor's name is Philip Glenister. He's one of the best out there. Paul, it's a pleasure to see you. One Chance is the name of the record. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you.
There you go. Paul Butch, everybody. More to come in the hour, including this.